broadcast training school. And that's when I got into broadcasting. And you know what? I learned the hard way. You know, I worked in some funky stations. Honestly, James, you could, at night, when they dropped the power down, you know, in Forks, Washington, it was quite famous for a TV show and a movie, you know, about vampires.
My.
It was a major, you know, movies they made about it. And, you know, and it's still kind of famous, Forks, Washington, for that. I worked in a radio station there that, I swear to God, as soon as it went dark, we dropped our power down, and maybe a mile away from the radio station, you could hear my show. And I you know, that was on a good night, you know. I mean, you know.
That was if he was talking loud into the mic.
Yeah.
With the window open.
Yeah, you know, and which way the wind was blowing. But, you know, it's funny. I would get these QSL cards from people like in England and Germany that could hear my show on 250 watts at night, which the people down the road couldn't hear my show, or, you know, so, you know. But
you were overshooting them.
Yeah,
you were so strong you was overshooting the close ones. That's what happened.
No, actually the radio waves went up to the ionic sphere, you know, and then came bouncing back, you know, tens of thousands of miles away. And they could hear what I was talking about. It was rather exciting. But, you know, then, you know, I got into, like, talk radio, and I love it. And, you know, what I'm trying to get is, I'm really frustrated because today I took a long, because I've been rehabbing for the last few days. So I've been listening to a lot of talk shows.
Right.
And a lot of some Facebook shows that I really, how can I say it? Okay. Don't, guys, you can get mad at me out there. I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of hate mail, but there is people out there on Facebook doing Facebook Live paranormal type of shows, right? That, one, their hair is messy. Two, they're smoking about a pack of cigarettes in a half an hour somehow. And they look like they had a couple shots of whatever. And, you know, they got food going in their mouth while they're interviewing people. And I'm going to myself, what is this all come about? I mean, yeah, the internet is great. There's a lot of great shows out there. But then you start looking at some of these people that, you know, that I don't know what they're trying to do. I mean, they're doing so much damage to the paranormal, you know, by... And it seems to be like the show's all about themselves, not about their guest. You know, I mean, I get guests on, honestly. Sometimes I don't believe anything they say, but you know what? You know, the whole point is I'm respectful. I let them say what they want to say. I interview them. And you know what? As Art Bell told me one time on the phone, we were talking. He goes, you know what? You have to look at this as nothing more than entertainment. So, you know, some of it is going to be interesting. Some of it's going to be, you know, groundbreaking. And some of it is going to be like, let's go down a rabbit hole and let the guest take himself down there. And you know, and I just get so frustrated, James, on some people out there that, you know, do these shows. At least they could put a clean shirt on and comb their hair, you know, and put out the cigarette when they're talking, and you know, and get some real guests on, you know, and that not guests that came out of some Western state mental hospital, and do a show that, you know, that is respectable. And that, and I'm really frustrated because that's what I've been hearing and seeing, and I'm going, wow.
Yeah, and you know what else? A lot of them, it's like me, 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 me. Look how great I am. Look how great my show is. Me, 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 me. Not, you know, even when I do my shows, I try to promote my guests, have them promote their stuff and what they got going on. And it's not me, 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 but I don't know. Everybody's different, I guess. But yeah, I feel your frustration. I can't understand why. I look at it like this. Eventually, all that stuff's got to float to the surface, and people eventually have got to see. They've got to see the forest for the trees eventually.
But it does damage, okay? It does damage to the real people. You know, like I'll be honest with you. I spend hours a day booking guests, researching the guests, you know, and I know how to interview a guest. Okay, maybe sometimes the guests won't let me talk, and then I figured, okay, if it's going to be one of those shows, then I'm going to let them talk, and I'll sit back and say, But you know what? I try to make the shows informative. I try to have guests on that are interesting, and, not the guy that lives down the street you call up, hey, George, you want to be on my show tonight, and we'll talk about ghost hunting. It's frustrating when you hear all this stuff, but it's really bad when they're uneducated doing it.
Yeah. No, I get you. I know exactly what you mean. Seriously. There's so many out there today. It's rough for the ones that's trying to, educate people or help people or help promote other people. It's hard. It is hard.
Well, I don't know.
I get it.
I blame it all on you can go down to Walmart and buy a USB microphone and plug it into your computer. Or if you don't have a computer, you can use your cell phone and all of a sudden just prop it up against a book there on your desk and then call yourself whatever, talk radio or whatever and do a show. I mean, I just am frustrated because the paranormal, I treat it with respect. I mean, if it wasn't, that's how I got into it. I mean, when I got into radio, my first job was thrown at me. It was a paranormal talk show, and I've done quite a few paranormal talk shows through my life. And, I want it intriguing. I want it fun. I want it informative. And, I'm going to tell you right now, if I get a guest on my show that I find out is a phony, they're going to be off of it as fast as you count to 3.
Or maybe even faster.
Well, about 3 because I have arthritis and I have to push a button.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's true. Plus, you got a little injuries going on right now. But yeah.
Oh yeah.
maybe 3.5 seconds.
But anyway, I wanted you to tell people, like Marjorie, she is going to be probably a fantastic guest. I mean, she is credible. She's also ghostwritten other books for other people. So, I mean, she's a very well-known author. And, I tell you, some of her stories that she told me, I just got into it like you wouldn't believe.
You know what? I called her up. I was talking to her almost same time I was talking to you on the computer, and instantly I could tell she's a very warm, loving soul, very passionate about her stuff, and I can tell just from when I talk to her that, man, I am excited to have her on talk about. She knows about reincarnation, paranormal, and she's experienced these things in her own life, and she speaks with them and about them and wrote about them with conviction and compassion because it's true, and it happened to her, and she can lay it down in words, and hopefully she can educate and help me and other people learn some new stuff. I'm excited to have her on big time.
Oh, yeah. What really got me really interested in reincarnation is when I had a hypnotist on my show back about 10 months ago. Sorry, I had a cough there. I got to quit smoking cigars. I tell you, they're not healthy. So hang on for a second. Hey, talk for a minute, James. I'm going to go cough for a minute.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, come to my group, Spiritual Paranormal, and Marjorie Phelps. She will be my guest. She's an author. She's an author of paranormal books and reincarnation, and it's going to be exciting. She has a true life story about herself, and she knows about all kind of aspects about reincarnations and auras and all kind of psychic stuff and paranormal stuff.
Oh yeah.
And she's a very loving and decent human being and honest, and you can't ask for a better decent guest than that. I mean, really.
And I tell you, she's not a phony. But that's that's the problem. How do you know when you get somebody on if they're a phony or not? They start talking. It's just a lot of mediums you got to watch out for. Because when they sit there and do their readings, they're asking you very subtle questions, and you're so wrapped up in the moment of being with a medium, right, and hoping to get all these answers. You're supplying them the answers that they're going to give back to you. So you got to be really careful. And if they want a lot of money, stay away from them.
Yeah.
But
see, your last guest touched on it. I was listening in. She touched on it where she said She doesn't ask questions. I don't either. I don't ask questions. I might ask questions like, this is what I see. Does that make any sense to you? That'd be my question, and that's the end right there. Like I'm not fishing for answers. I tell the people what the spirits are telling me or what the visions are giving me in my head, and that's all I do. And she does the same thing. That's why I respect your last guest, because she doesn't. There's a lot of them that fish for answers, and that's if you find them fishing for answers, that's a red flag to me. Plus, if they're paying for money, me personally, I've never charged nobody in my life ever, not a penny, and never will. That's just me. I don't have nothing against people that charge. It's just, it's a lot easier to believe somebody that's not charging you and not asking you questions. Let's put it like that.
Yeah. Well, that'll be $300 for that reading. But, going back about reincarnations, I had this one ex-New York detective, homicide detective on my show. And, when he retired, he always was interested because of, hypnotizing people. He got a degree in it and learned to be a hypnotist. And he started taking people back in reincarnations and, past lives. And what was interesting is when I started asking him questions, I said, well, did you ever go back, since you were a homicide detective? You always had to, put, the clues together to build a case on a murder case, like who did it and trace it down. And he goes, yeah. I said, did you ever, like when these people started telling you about their past lives when you hypnotize them, did you ever go back and try to verify it? And he said, I did it 2-3 times and I will never do it again. And I go, why? Because he goes, well, the couple I did all matched up. So, wow. In other words, he would regress somebody to certain time frames, and he was able to go back and verify their stories, like where they lived at, who the people were, and all that stuff.
He was able to validate all that information. Pretty much he don't need to do it because he knows it's going to pretty much work, or he's spooked by it, or both.
I think he was kind of spooked by it because, it was just...
That sounds right.
Yeah.
That was the question I was getting to. Yeah. It always fascinated me, that the past regression and past lives. It always did fascinate me. And my guest, Marjorie, she knows about that stuff, so I'm excited to hear about that.
Now, again, you have to watch it, and I'm not mentioning names, but I had a guest one time on my show that, she, had various past lives. And then, I knew her age, and so I knew, okay, this is her age, right? And then she says, well, one of my lives, I was a 911 operator. And then I started thinking, this is after halfway through the interview. I go, were you a 911 operator or just an emergency operator? And she goes, no, I was a 911 operator out of Los Angeles.
Yeah. And that only came around a certain time, didn't it?
Yeah. And then I started thinking, okay, well, you're this age, you're in your going on 70 years old. They didn't have 911 when you're claiming.
That's a good one.
Yeah. And then after again, but maybe she believes it. That's the whole problem,
Yeah, I was thinking about that too, because I you know what, I don't. I want to believe in this past life regression, but I don't know if there's been enough science done to it to prove that it's not memories that's in your brain that's real, or is it something that's been put there, or is it something that is being implanted to you, or, you know what I'm saying? I just don't know. I really want to believe it, but I don't know enough about it.
Well, yeah, like let's say maybe like 3 years ago, you had a dream that you were working as a 911 operator, and you had a dream about it, because people have vivid dreams, right? And then all of a sudden that dream is implanted in the back of your head, right? And then all of a sudden, if you're regressed or whatever, all of a sudden, how do you know it's not a dream? That
exactly. Because I'm going to tell you something, Gary. My dreams, because I got post PTSD, and I got to tell you, I've had some dreams before where, look, I was fighting Indians out on the range, and I caught an arrow in the shoulder, and it went through my shoulder and out the back of my shoulder, but stuck against the chuck wagon. So now I'm stuck against the wagon with an arrow sticking through me, okay? And I'm fighting these Indians, and I had to break the arrow off and pull myself out of the arrow, and I'm still fighting these Indians about to get killed, and next thing I know, I wake up, but when I wake up, it was like that battle was still going on,